Good morning. Welcome back. I want to share with you guys something. I'm putting this back in my Bible. But, I want to share with y'all something that I have just loved and found that I just think is oh so awesome and cool. I have a regular, it's a New King James Version. It's the American Patriot Bible. I got it when I was baptized. It was one of the Bibles that our church had that was like given to them. And I love that Bible. But I recently ventured into this one and got this one off of Amazon. It's the New King James Version. It's the Women's Study Bible. I have my finger pinned, marked. But in this one, it talks about like the different people in the Bible and puts them in the retrospect and aspect of how things are. So as I'm waiting to go to get my youngest and my older two from school, I wanted to read to you what it says about Hagar. And it says rejected but not abandoned. And if you guys don't know who Hagar is, Abraham and Isaac are in the Bible. They're in the book of Genesis. And Abraham, he's not the, I started to say founding father, kinda. Abraham was promised a bunch of descendants and many children, and Sarah could not have kids, and neither could Abraham, and at a very old age, they couldn't. So Sarah told Abraham, which was Abram, and Abram, and then they got, God changed their name to Abraham and Sarah. Sarah told Abraham that since she could not have kids, that he could go into Hagar and have a child with her. But that was not God's will. And even though it wasn't God's will, God was still with Hagar and Ishmael. And then later on, Sarah was able to conceive because there was angels that were sent down, and was told Isaac was told to Abraham and Sarah that Sarah would have a baby, and they end up having Isaac. And Sarah kind of noticed that Hagar was like, hey, I've got his child, he's the firstborn, but, like, you get it pretty much in your head that, you're top notch and you're not the maidservant. You start to feel like you're better than everybody else. And I'm not saying she did or didn't, but anyways, in the book of in the book of Genesis, Hagar, this is what it says about her. And it's also got notes where it's referenced, so I'll mention those, but I'll mention them real quick. So notes that this is referenced is Genesis 2:24, and then it references in Genesis 16 verse 7 and 21 verse 18. Genesis 21 verse 20. And then it referenced Genesis 21, 8 through 21, and chapter 25, 12 through 18. And then notes on abuse is Proverbs 30, and unwed mothers, 1 Kings 3. So it says, the Egyptian maidservant Hagar was acquired by Sarah when she and Abraham together with his nephew Lot, moved from Canaan to Egypt to escape a famine. In ancient Near Eastern households, the rank of personal maidservants to the master's wives reflect honor, obedience, and trustworthiness. However, the position stripped Hagar of all personal rights, making her totally subject to Sarah's every wish. Because Sarah was sterile, Hagar's surrogate maternity was perfectly legal, though a clear violation of God's law, and evidence of a lack of faith on the part of Abraham and Sarah. Psychologically and emotionally, however, Hagar changed radically with her pregnancy. Sarah responded to Hagar's pride and self-importance with a vindictive accusation against her husband, who insisted that Sarah assumed full responsibility for her maid. But of Sarah's mistreatment, Hagar ran away. To the fugitive slave, God revealed himself. You are the God who sees. And that's Genesis 16:13. In tender grace, he met her intimate need and allowed her to experience his presence. Hagar's legacy speaks poignantly. It's Poignantly to the growing number of disadvantaged and dispossessed women. Under no circumstances can they escape God's care. As God provided for Hagar, he can and will provide for every woman. Twice the angel of the Lord came to her aid. In Genesis 16 verse 7 and Genesis 21 verse 17. He was also involved with Hagar and her son in the time of crisis and in the time in between. Throughout Hagar's life, she experienced estrangement and prejudice as a foreigner, hardship and abuse as a servant, grief and abandonment as an unwed pregnant woman, and hopeless despair on 2 occasions as she faced immediate death. Yet despite all these difficulties, Hagar responded to the God who addressed her. She did not get compensation from Sarah and Abraham. Her life was never easy, but God did reward her in the all-seeing God. Hagar found refuge in life. And I think that is just really cool. So, it really puts into retrospect of what it talks about. And some of the things that it says down here, if I'm in the right area, let me check. Okay, so right here when it talks about Genesis 16:7, it says, Now the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarah's maid, where have you come from, and where are you going? And she said, I am fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarah. The angel of the Lord said to her, Return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hand. Then the angel of the Lord said to her, I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so that they shall not be counted for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, Behold, you are with child, and you shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your afflictions. He shall be a wild man. His hands shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Then she called on the name of the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees. For she said, Have I also here seen him who sees me? There's like sun on my paper. Okay, so it says, Have I also seen him who sees me? Therefore, the well was called Bir Lahai Roi. Observe, it is between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abraham a son, and Abraham named his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. Abraham was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael. So it says down here on 16 verse 6 and 16:8 and 16:10 and for 16:14, it says the angel of the Lord is associated with the covenant of God. The angel is thought by many to be a theophany, or an appearance of God himself, as Hagar recognized. The angel appeared in Genesis to prevent the thwarting of God's plan for his chosen people. Because the angel seems to distinguish himself from Yahweh while still claiming deity. He has been identified by some as the pre-incarnate Christ. Hagar was returning to her home country in Egypt. Shur is at Canaan's southern border. God's method of communication often utilizes questions, but never implied lack of omniscience. The angel promised Hagar. The angel's promise Hagar received directly from God a promise of descendants, Ishmael. Ishmael was the father of 12 princes. Paralleling, sorry, I'm trying to block some of the sun so I can read it. Paralleling to the 12 tribes descending from Isaac's son Jacob. See that? Still, Ishmael's descendants would not inherit the land in the presence of also carrying the sense of against the face of predicting the hostility between the descendants of Ishmael and Isaac. When God had compassion on Hagar, he did not allow Abraham's attempt to secure an heir through his own means to defeat his plan. The well was between Kadesh and Bered on Canaan's southern borders. Kadesh Barnea is the modern site of An Quedes in the wilderness of the Negev. I am horrible at pronouncing words, and I have a hard time reading. I am not the best reader, but if y'all want to look into it, go ahead. But I find it fascinating, and I read better in my head than I do out loud. So bear with me. I'm sorry. But I just want to tell you guys that Hagar was abused. She was a servant. She was given over for Abraham to have a child with Sarah, even though that was not God's plan. And even through all of it, God still protected Hagar and Ishmael. And I just want to let you know that God is always with you. And God is with you always, wherever you go. You just have to rely on Him and know that the situations that you're in, whether it's in an abusive situation. I've been in abusive situations. My ex-husband was crazy, to say the least. But if you're in abusive situations, if there's things going on, hold close to God. Do take legal action, please. Please take legal action and get out. Hagar got out with Ishmael when Sarah and Abraham sent them on their way after Isaac was born. But do understand, they left. They did not stay. But get out, get help, and just know that God's got a plan for you. But here's the thing, you have to surrender to God. You have to be there in the presence. You have to, does it make sense? Like, I'm not saying God's not going to take care of things. God is taking care of things. God's taking care of details that you don't even know what's going on, because you don't know what's going on. God's working on the details behind the scene. But put your faith in God. Know that He is working on the details. Trust in Him. Believe in Him. Do get help. Please get help. Whether it's from a friend and the police, definitely the court system. Especially if you got children. Take care of yourself and know that God is always with you. Even if you are a SA victim, a domestic violence victim, any type, please get help. I'm trying to make this, okay, so I'm trying to get this where even children who don't understand what's going on can still watch this video and not be traumatized or triggered, and other people too. Just please get help. If you are a a KV, a KID and a PPED victim, please get help. Please get help. And I love you guys. Abuse comes in all different ways. But do know the Lord is with you. Hold tight to Him, cling tight to Him. And if you have not given your life to Christ, please do so. I have other videos on how to do it, shorts, reels, and everything in between. So I love you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.